simple, nah, nah. Promise me no promises. Oh, nah, nah. Just be careful, nah, nah. Love ain't simple, nah, nah. Promise me no promises.
Testing, testing, testing. Can you guys hear me? Mic check. Mic 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? I think you can hear me now. Hi guys. Good morning. Good morning. Wow, I feel like I'm back in teaching class, but it's been a long time. Well, welcome to Safer Internet Day, United States, right here in Austin, Texas. We are so thrilled to be hosting you here and working with the Austin Independent School District and the National PTA. I'm Larry Magid, and I'm the CEO of ConnectSafely.org. We're a nonprofit internet safety, privacy, security organization. We're based in Silicon Valley, California, and it's kind of cool to be in Texas because you know what they call the plane between San Jose and Austin? They call it the Nerd Bird. And the reason they call it that is it's all techies going from the Silicon Valley over to Austin, except you guys have good music too, so you got one on us. We have good music, but you guys got great music. So we are really happy to be here and really honored to have you all here. Today is really about you, and by you I mean the students here in the audience and the students that are watching us on the stream from around the country, possibly around the world. And speaking of the world, Safer Internet Day is a global event. It was started in 2004 by the European Commission, and then it expanded to the United States in 2012 when the European Commission and our own Department of Homeland Security signed a joint agreement. And the next year, Connect Safely started hosting it. We've hosted it different parts of the country. We always try to pick a very cool city, which is why we're here in Austin. We were also in Silicon Valley, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia, and at Universal Studios Hollywood. So you guys are in with a lot of great locations that we've been in the past. We really are honored, of course, to have Dr. Paul Cruz, who's the superintendent of the Austin School District, Independent School District. But as I told him earlier, I said, please don't be offended. You may be our speaker, but our guests of honor are every one of the students in this audience, because today is about you. It's not just about internet safety, it's also about student empowerment. Because when you look at what you think about, you've all heard the term digital citizenship? You heard that term? Look up the word citizen in the dictionary, at least in the Webster's Online Dictionary. It, of course, talks about responsibilities, because citizens have responsibilities, but it also talks about rights, because citizens have rights as well. So at Connect Safely, we're not just about responsibility, we're also about the right of free speech, the right of people to use the internet creatively and to express themselves. And by the way, in your bag that you're going to get later today, you're going to get a goodie bag. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff, but one of the things is a Connect Safely brochure. You're probably going to throw it away on the way home, but you might want to read it first, because actually, if your parents check out our website, they're going to find that we are there to encourage them to encourage you to use connected technology. We're not there to scare anybody. We're there to encourage the use of this technology. So one of the things that's going to be in the bag is going to be I don't usually give these things away, but I'm giving away one of them. It's going to be a cool virtual reality headset from Google. It's called the Google Cardboard. It's made out of cardboard, but it's still very cool. You put your phone in it, you can do VR. But the reason I'm telling you this in advance is that we're going to have 4 exhibit stations here, and you're highly encouraged to attend all of them. You have to go to at least 3 of them and have your passport stamped. You all got a passport, because with that passport, you get the goodie bag. And the reason I told you about the Google thing is because Google's also going to be showing off VR. There's going to be some headsets there, but if you don't get a chance to experience it today, don't worry, because you're going to take home your own headset and a link to the same experience you would have gotten here. You also got your little coupon for your prize. Hang on to it, and hang on to it all day, because you're not going to just have one chance, but multiple chances to win some very cool prizes that I think you're going to enjoy taking home, those of you who are lucky enough to win them. A couple other housekeeping things. There is a step and repeat. Anybody here ever watch one of the big shows like the Oscars, the Grammys, or any of those big award shows? You'll always see celebrities out in front of a big banner, and there's always the logos of the sponsors, because it's all about sponsors, of course. And the idea is you take your picture in front of that banner. And so that banner is here today, just like it is at the Oscars and the Grammys and the SAG Awards and all those things. And it's there for you to take pictures of yourselves. And we encourage you to do hashtag SID2018, 2018 if you put it on Twitter. We also encourage you to say @ConnectSafely, which is our Twitter handle. And also there's a Snapchat filter. So you'll find a Safer Internet Day Snapchat filter. So nobody's going to tell you to put away your phones. We do want you to put them on silent, but you're more than welcome to take all the pictures and send them out to the world to see. I'm going to introduce speakers very briefly, but their bios are at saferinternetday.us. The site crashed this morning, but I'm told it's back up and running, hopefully, so you should be able to get there. And finally, I want to thank our staff and our speakers, the great ConnectSafely staff led by Maureen Kochan, who's the coordinator of this event. I couldn't have done it without her. Carrie Gallagher, who you're going to meet later, who's going to run the student activity, our director of K-12 education, and Hani Khan, who's our media outreach person, and you'll see her walking around as well. And then our sponsors, Google, Semantic LifeLock, Facebook, Twitter, Trend Micro, Kik, NCTA, the Internet Television Association, After School app, which is on your phones, the Austin Independent School District, the National PTA, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security are our partners in helping to make this event possible. So thank you very much to all of that. Enough of me, and now we're going to hear from one of our support sponsors, or our partners, I should say, Lisa Holbrook, who's president of the Texas PTA. Lisa, here you are. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm thrilled that you are here today in our capital city. Austin has been on a fast-paced incline with new tech companies popping up every day. This city, whose motto is Keep Austin Weird, is embracing uncharted ideas and radical thinking. We are doing, not waiting. And so it is very appropriate that today you are here. You, the young minds and eminent visionaries of Central Texas. You are web savvy and tech literate. And I would wager that most of you school your parents on technology at home. I won't stand here and lecture you on the dangers of the internet. I'm sure it's been drilled into you ad nauseum. You probably know someone who has had a negative experience online, or maybe that someone is you. At its core, the internet and all its capabilities is a remarkable thing. We take for granted its sheer power. A classroom of students in the United States can video chat with teenagers thousands of miles away in a refugee camp. You can view the Louvre's collection from your laptop or live tweet with an astronaut in space. And for Texas PTA, the web allows us to engage with 500,000 members. Yes, the internet is magnificent, but with something that powerful comes responsibility. ConnectSafely and associations like the PTA are working with young adults to ensure that nothing impedes your ability to harness the breadth and wonder of the internet to expand your minds and reach new heights worlds away. And now it gives me great pleasure to share with you some information about your next speaker. Jim Archimonde was installed as the 55th president of the National PTA's Board of Directors at the June 2017 National PTA Convention. Jim has been engaged in fulfilling the mission of PTA since his oldest child began kindergarten. For the past 18 years, he has volunteered at every level and has been the president and had the pleasure of it at his child's high school, the district PTA, the council, and the state at the Connecticut Parent-Teacher Association. Jim believes that family and community engagement is one of the key strengths of PTA in providing equity and quality in our educational system today. He advocates to look beyond the school communities to develop partnerships with other educational stakeholders in order to further the mission of the association. In 2012, Jim was instrumental in the Snowflakes for Sandy Hook Elementary School Healing Initiative and fundraising of $1.1 million to support potential mental health issues within the Sandy Hook school community. He is also actively engaged in other civic and youth programming as a coach, a Boy Scout leader, and his church. Jim is a small business owner, the parent of 2 public school-educated children, and the husband of a public school teacher. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming National PTA President Jim Archimonde.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's always a great pleasure to look out in the audience at digital natives. You're looking up here at a digital slow learner. Definitely a slow learner here. So, yeah, it was all textbooks and slide rules when I was at your age group. Middle school, high school is the most fun. I was a teacher at a high school out in Santa Barbara, California for science. My wife's a second grade school teacher for elementary, so education is very, very, very important to us. My son just graduated college and now works in DC, and my daughter's a graduating senior. Any graduating seniors in this room? Yeah, there you go. What a year, huh? This is a year of decisions, of choices, of being a little bit nervous, of being excited. Did you get into you guys can reflect on this. It's all about getting into your favorite schools, your first choices, et cetera. So there's some ups and downs that are associated with this. I wanted to reach out and just a quick thank you to some of the folks in the room. Larry, thank you so much. Again, last night I mentioned to you, it's a pleasure for National PTA to be part of this event. I wanted to quick shout outs. There's Scotty filming right now. He's with our communications group. Hello, Scott. Chris, are you in the room? Chris Vervet? Raise your hand in the back. She was actually handing out at our tables. She's part of our resource development crew. We have our president-elect here, Leslie Boggs, who was also a president of the great state of Texas just 1 term ago. And, of course, executive director. Lisa just walked out, and Lisa's a terrific president, represents you all very well. She just had to leave to go off to Founders Day down in Corpus, I think. And we have right here from our office, Kyle Ward. He's the executive director of all of Texas PTA here in Austin. This is their headquarters. They are actually downtown, and I'm hoping that I get an invite later today, Scott. I want to come up. Kyle, I want to come up and definitely see that office for sure since I'm down here. I love being in Austin. It's an exciting city. It's a growth city. It's one of our few that are just exploding in this country. So it's a thrill that not only Safer Internet Day is here, but you're all here, and your teachers know you're out of school today, right? None of you guys are going to get in trouble? Cool. That's good. That's the best way to be. So thank you for the introduction, and thank you all for coming. National PTA is very excited to be celebrating Safer Internet Day with all of you here in Austin, Texas. Of course, the theme of 2018 Safer Internet Day is a better internet starts with you, and I truly believe that's the case. So remember, guys, a kind comment or message among a bunch of mean ones can make a huge difference. Together, we can make gaming chat rooms and social media sites as warm and welcoming as our living rooms and classrooms. Now, I'll give you the same lecture that I give my 2 kids, and remember, it's always, as a parent, you gotta always say these things, but just remember, the internet does not forget. It doesn't forget. Unlike it was when I was your age, the internet does not forget. It follows you everywhere, so be very socially mindful of everything that you post. Be very socially mindful and caring, just like you were standing in front of somebody, talking to them, et cetera, of what you post. Because it bites, and it's a two-way communication. So it's great that we are here face-to-face, and you're all part of that, but just be very careful that the internet doesn't forget. So big message today, enjoy, have fun, and thank you, because it's really a pleasure for National PTA to be here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And again, we are so thrilled to have the National PTA as well as Texas PTA as our partners. And I'm sure many of your parents and your teachers are active in PTA. Well, it is a great pleasure for me to introduce our next speaker, somebody who you may know or certainly may know of. And if you don't know him, you should, because he obviously has an important role in what you're doing today as a student in the Austin Independent School District. And that's Dr. Paul Cruz, who's the superintendent of the Austin Independent School District, serving nearly 82,000 students and 12,000 employees. Dr. Cruz guides the district in realizing the vision to reinvent the urban school experience. And under Dr. Cruz's leadership, The school district graduation rate is at an all-time high. Congratulations not only to Dr. Cruz, but to those of you who are going to even improve that, I'm sure, going forward, and I know it's gotten very good. Dr. Cruz is also, Dr. Cruz, 2/3 of AIST's graduates enrolling directly into college, also very impressive. And the district continues to meet all student performance standards set by the Texas Education Agency, and students are scoring above their peers throughout the state and the nation on ACT and SAT. The district also has been named to the Advanced Placement Honor Roll. So speaking of honor, it is a great honor for me to welcome somebody who is not only a leader of the Austin schools, but from what I hear, has a great future as a leader in education for all of us, as somebody who's really doing a great job. So thank you so much, Dr. Cruz. Please.
Thank you for the kind words. I do want to thank Connect Safely. I also want to thank National PTA, Texas PTA, all of our friends who are here just to recognize the importance and how powerful technology and the internet is, but also realizing that there are some precautions we always need to take. It's always important to come back and talk about expectations, talk about the future, and students, you are the future. You are the future leaders. Actually, you're leaders already today. And you are the future leaders who are going to be doing these things like all these people who have come up on stage. That's going to be you. I want that to be you. And we have amazing students in Austin ISD. I want to recognize some that are just here today. Where do we have Bailey Bears? Where are the Bailey Bears? Say something, Bailey Bears. Woo, do something. I don't know. All right, Bailey Bears. You know, I'm going to go tell Mr. Rocha, right? All right, so I'm going to text him a little bit. You may want to get out your phones because I'm asking you to do a quick activity in just a little bit, so you might want to get your phones ready. But we got Bailey Bears in the house here. Where are the ones who soar? Where are the Aikens Eagles? All right, Aikens Eagles. I'm going to let Ms. Hosak know you did an awesome job. We're the ones who do it not without honor. We're the Reagan Raiders. All right. You know Ms. Garza's going to watch this later on, too. You know she is, right? And where do we have that amazing school off of 183? Where are the Lanier Vikings? All right. Oh, absolutely. I know, Mr. Hopkins. I'm going to have to text him a little. I'm going to text him a picture that I took with y'all. I'll text it to him in just a little bit. But students, like I said, you are the future. And it's about learning. What you're doing now, you are preparing yourself. You're preparing yourselves in this very nice, safe space with adults who care for you, who care about you, who love you, who want you to be your best self ever. You have that space right now to do that. So think just today, what is one thing that you've learned? And the next thing I want you to do, because as a teacher, I always have to give assignments, but I'm not going to give homework. You're actually going to do it in class. So think of something you've learned today, already this morning, and send a text, send an email, let somebody know about what you learned today. Somebody in your family, whether it be a student in your family, one of your friends, somebody, if it's somebody at your table, just go ahead and tell them. Don't text it to them, all right? Do me a favor. I think my kids, when I see my kids on the couch, I feel like they're all like this on their phones. I'm on my phone too with them. I feel like we're all talking to each other, but nobody talks. We actually are just texting each other. So anyway, if the person you want to talk to is there at your table, let them know something you've learned today, or let your family know. Go ahead and take about 30 seconds to do that. All right, 10 seconds left. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're all good. All right, there we go. Make sure that you do that, because as families, as your school family, as your family at home, we all want to know, what are you doing? What's going on? Let me know a little bit about what you're doing in school. or just what's on your mind. It's always important as family members that we always want to know that. So make sure to let others know about it, what you're learning, what you're experiencing. As I've talked to students just today when I came in, that's always my very first question, because it's very powerful. Me as an educator, as a teacher, superintendent, but also as a dad, I want to make sure that students are learning every day. And they were providing that learning space that is most conducive to the learning. So you can get awards and recognitions, and I get to see you in 2 weeks giving you an award on stage. How amazing is that? Austin is a great place. And I'm so glad that Connect Safely chose Austin to do the great work here today. In Austin, we're outdoorsy. It's beautiful. We're fun. We're foodies. We love good food, right? We love puppies, too. We love dogs, right? I know that. We're techies. Something also that's really important about Austin, somos bilingüe. Hablamos diferentes idiomas. How cool is that? Students, you make Austin, ¿verdad? ¿Qué tal, verdad? But how amazing is that? You know, I love Austin today. I've been here a while. I love Austin today. But later in future, we want to love it even more. And you're going to make that happen. Students, thank you so much for your leadership, your determination, and helping others understand how to use technology in a safe way and make sure that we're learning every single day. Thank you to all of our students here today and to our amazing teachers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cruz. And since you are all future Austin leaders, I have one request. Keep Austin weird. That's what I love about it. So you're going to see me looking at my phone. I promise you I am not chatting with my friends or even tweeting. But Commissioner Mignon has such an impressive bio, I wanted to read it, and I'm reading it from my phone. So our next speaker is Mignon Clyburn, who served as acting chairwoman of the Federal Communications Commission following her appointment by President Barack Obama in May of 2013. Does anybody here know what the Federal Communications Commission is and what it does? You do, great. Well, perhaps the commissioner can explain very briefly, better than I can. It's a really, really important federal agency, like television, radio, telephones, the internet, just little things in our lives are in part at least, controlled by them. As commissioner, she's serving a second term as a Democrat on the commission, for which she was sworn in on February 19th, 2013, following her renomination by the President and confirmation by the United States Senate. So it takes a lot to become a Federal Communications Commissioner. Clyburn began her service at the FCC in August 2009 after spending 11 years as a member of the 6th District on the Public Service Commission of South Carolina. So you guys consider yourself Southerners? Maybe? She's a Southerner. Anyway, you guys are Westerners too. She served as its chair from July 2002 through June 2004. Prior to her service on the PSC, Clyburn was the publisher and general manager of the Coastal Times, a Charlton-based weekly newspaper that focused primarily on the issues affecting the African-American community. She co-owned and operated the family-founded newspaper for 14 years. A longtime champion of consumers and a defender of public interest, Commissioner Clyburn considers every commission proceeding with an eye towards how it will affect each and every American. She's a strong advocate for enhanced accessibility in communications for disabled citizens and works closely with representative groups for the deaf and hard of hearing. She's fought to promote strong competition across all communication platforms, and I'm going to spare you because she's got such an impressive resume, you're going to have to read it online. She is a graduate of the University of South Carolina and holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in Banking, Finance, and Economics. Boy, we could use you right now. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to introduce Commissioner Clyburn.
So good morning, everyone. Now, I'm from the South. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I want to thank Larry for that wonderful introduction and to let you know what an honor it is for me to take part in Safer Internet too, I guess. Safer Internet 2018 with you, the future leaders of the state and nation. So for more than 8 years, you just heard, I have had the privilege to serve as one of 5 members of the Federal Communications Commission. Now, the FCC is about 84 years old, and it sets rules and policies for many of the communication services you use every day, like wireless and landline. You might not use landline phones, but those of us old like me, we used to use landline phones, cable and free over-the-air television, radio stations, satellite companies, and yes, of course, the internet. Regulators, and that's what I am, regulators like me accept and embrace our duty, obligation, and responsibility to nurture and protect each and every one of you, as well as your parents, guardians, and everyone in the U.S. Like those adults who did the same for me, how we go about it today is different in many, many ways. But there's some ways it's just the same as when I was in middle and high school. I barely remember those years, but there was a time when I was in middle and high school. Our police officers and firefighters are still taking a vow to protect and serve us. Our teachers and counselors maintain their commitment to educate and offer guidance to us. Nurses, doctors, and clinicians continue to take an oath to help heal us. They represent professionals with specific skill sets that are focused on looking after us when we are in need, when we are vulnerable, and when we need their support and protection. But as we move further into the second decade of the 21st century, technology is creating new opportunities, but it has also opened the door, unfortunately, to dangers that did not exist when I sat in the seats that you occupy today. This means that in addition to those who were there for me and my classmates, we are joined by agencies like the FCC to keep you safe. Now, our number one responsibility at the agency is to uphold and protect the public interest. Public safety is our number one responsibility. Now, that not only means that we are to ensure that every one of you is connected with the ability to use your cell phone, access the internet, receive a television broadcast signal or cable signal, but when you use these platforms, you should be safe while doing so. Now, we work closely with other government agencies, local, state, and federal, to provide information about online safety to you and those who are younger by finding effective ways to erase cyberbullying and protect your privacy. Now, the internet, I don't have to say or tell any of you, is an amazing platform. It has made engaging in political discussions and joining online petitions more accessible than ever before. I mention this in particular because as a public servant, I appreciate that I have the ability and means to hear from you about issues that matter to you the most. Each of you has the means, and I say the responsibility, to make your voices heard at the FCC, and you should speak up loudly and clearly because that the decisions that 5 people in this nation make today will determine your relationships with your cell phone, your internet, and your media content provider for the rest of your lives. Now, do me a favor and raise your hand if you have heard anything about net neutrality. For those of you who don't know, and there are just a couple of you in the room, net neutrality is a concept that people like you and me should be able to access online apps and services of your choice without a company and without the government interfering with that ability. So say you want to binge watch a favorite show over your mobile phone or tablet. Net neutrality means and says that your internet service provider should not be allowed to slow down your connection. In other words, net neutrality is an idea that all legal traffic that goes over the internet should be treated equally. Now, in December, you might have heard, the majority of the FCC voted to repeal our nation's net neutrality protections. I objected strongly. Now, the why is obvious, but let me reinforce this. Millions of supporters of net neutrality, those legitimate comments that came in online, and you know what I'm talking about, particularly young people like you, made their voices heard and shared with me why it is so important to have access and maintain the openness and freedom that the internet enables us to enjoy. Now, unlike my generation, you, as you know and have heard from 3 speakers this morning, you're digital natives. You have grown up around technology in a way that I can only have dreamed of when I was at Fairwall Middle School in Columbia, South Carolina. We were the Tigers. I don't know if there were any Tigers in the room. But my other school to get somebody else mad was Keenan High School, was the mighty, mighty, mighty Raiders. So I made half the room mad, and I think there's some Raiders in here. But in South Carolina, in the good old days when I was in junior high school and middle school, we had pop-up quiz. So guess what? We had quizzes, and I'm going to have one right now. But I promise I won't issue any grades if you play with me a little bit today. Raise your hand if you have internet at home. Keep your hand up if you have an internet connection at school. Now keep your hand up if you have a cell phone on you now. Maintain your hands up if you have, a cell phone and a connection that has internet capabilities. Now, what this, so as you put your hands down, because I don't want to get, you to have a problem. This shows everyone who's watching you in this room and online 2 things. One, that just about everybody in this room is incredibly fortunate because you are connected with a personal device on here in this room that you have access at home and at school or at your public libraries. The internet is a part of your everyday life in ways that were unimaginable even 10 or 12 or 15 years ago. It is becoming an essential part of our economy and our way of life. But not everyone in America is so fortunate. There are more than 24 million people in this country today who lack access to fast and reliable internet connection. And those limits bring about challenges that go well beyond the ability for them to use Snapchat or YouTube. Without a reliable internet connection, research for completing homework assignments, the ability to apply for jobs, and participate in our democracy becomes extremely difficult. This is why I see my job as an FCC commissioner as one that fights for fast, affordable, and open internet for each and every one of us. When everyone in our society can join us online, we create better opportunities for every one of us. We can learn about each other and have reasons to better respect each other through meaningful online interactions. This is a future that all of us should benefit from, and this is a future that all of us should work to maintain. Now, what I can say with confidence is that the internet is the most incredible, enabling, democratizing innovation of your lifetime. It has launched historic and conscience-raising and changing movements. It has exposed wrongdoings and brought down some of our nation's most powerful and influential. It has helped to create the largest numbers of young billionaires in our nation's history by allowing creative, life-altering ideas to come to market and come to market quickly. It has changed the way we learn, eat, sell, and interact with each other. The internet, in short, has changed our lives. It has erased the need for a storefront business, because you don't need that now to get your goods or services or ideas to market. It has allowed everyone in this room and beyond to go straight to the consumer without using a middleman who could eat away from our profits. It has allowed you to share your personal story with the world without anyone standing in your way. The internet, when it is free and open, prohibits any gatekeeper, company, or government from blocking, slowing down, or making you pay more for the same access to content or services online. The internet affords us endless opportunities. But this kind of power, as you have heard, is something that you should never, ever take for granted. None of us can ever let our guard down when it comes to ensuring that the freedoms that we enjoy when it comes to access over the internet, it should always remain in your hands. None of us should close our eyes and assume that it will always be there. Because the opportunities that you enjoy today by being online are not shared by everyone around the world. And if we are not vigilant, if we do not work hard in ensuring that the power of the internet remains with you, its future could very well look different tomorrow than it does today. This powerful tool, its usefulness and functionality rests literally within your hands. The internet does now, does tomorrow, does 10, 50, 100 years from now, should forever belong to you. And as each of you grow, learn, and move on to, some of you are in high school, those of you who are going on to college, those of you in middle school trying to get to high school, those of you who are looking for advanced training, those of you, and don't rush on this if you don't have to, who will in a full-time way join the workforce, stay in school as long as you can. Live off your parents as long as you can. Trust me, you'll thank me for saying that. But when you launch out on your own, you will continue to shape the way the internet looks like through your actions and aspirations. Leaving this powerful invention in better shape than you found it is your responsibility. Finding ways to ensure that the internet is a safer place, not just for you, but for older folk like me, is largely within your hands. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to join you today. I think we might have a couple of minutes for questions here in Austin, but I want to leave one charge with you. Accept and embrace the power and responsibility you have literally at your fingertips to keep the internet open and free for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Cleveland. That was actually inspirational. I have a couple of questions, and I do want to open it up for other questions. But, we cherish our First Amendment here in the United States. And I'm curious, as an FCC commissioner, what the First Amendment means to you. Because it's not a license to say absolutely anything, anywhere. But on the other hand, it's a very important freedom that we have.
It is an important freedom, and it's first and foremost, when it comes to, I think, our duties and responsibility of the citizens as being a citizen of the United States. It says to you, and this is implied responsibility to all of you, that you could speak your mind, that you have the ability without fear of being able to express yourselves. Now, expressing yourself, to be honest with you, does not mean that you say everything that's on your mind. It really doesn't. You can think what you will, but the responsibility to project that in words or online, is one that you need to think once, twice, 3 times about. Because again, inherent in all this is a responsibility. And hopefully you treat people the way in which you want to be treated, that you express yourself to them in the way in which you should. We live in a nation that has checks and balances against people retaliating against us, having a responsible, contrary opinion. But again, it comes with responsibilities that we could never, ever ignore.
So I have more questions, but I want to see if anybody in the audience has a question. Because yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is called a catch box.
Oh, wow.
So it's a foam little box, and it's got a microphone in it, and you can just throw it.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it works.
Loud and clear.
That is way cool.
Okay.
So I understand that you stand for net neutrality.
Yes.
And I do too. I think it's a thing that we all should stand for because we all use our technology. So what's kind of scaring me is the future.
Yes.
How will it look without net neutrality?
I wish I knew and had comforting words for you. Now, I'm not trying to scare everybody in the room, but so let me put it in this way, in a couple of ways. I think there is some construction or proposed construction going on, and I heard this example from somebody, so I stole this. They can't sue me if I said I'm stealing this analogy. So I think there's a proposal for a toll road or something to go across that would get you from A to B faster here. So when you talk about what the internet could look like, if you have money to pay that toll, you can move faster. If you don't have the money to pay for access, then you might be relegated to a slow, slow lane or a slow, ability when you access the internet, or a slow experience. That is a very real possibility. Why do I say that? Because there's nothing in place now, once this goes into effect, that will prevent that from happening. And see, that's the fear that I have. Not the biggest fear that companies say, we have no incentive to do that. My biggest fear is that they can, and there is no government agency stopping them from slowing down and blocking traffic in the future. And if you say it will never happen, I can point to you to 50,000 complaints that says some things have happened in the past that could happen in the future. That's my fear.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Francie. Other questions? Well, one of the issues,
Were you just...
did I see a question?
Okay, because we would
What's
draft you.
good. So
I'm from the South. We don't mind drafting. We will draft it.
So I know you believe in competition and freedom of companies to compete
Yes.
with each other. Doesn't that happen when it comes to internet, or to what extent do we have competition in delivering the internet in communities?
So I don't know if each of you know this, but if you look at the majority, well over 50% of the nation, and it doesn't matter where you live. You can live in the richest of neighborhoods or the most economically challenged. Most of us only have one option, one high-speed internet service provider in our communities. So when you talk about competition, when people say, well, you've got options, you really do not in most of your communities. So that's the fear. So if you have a monopoly, we know what that is. Or if you have oligopolies, we know what that is. The middle school students may or may not know what that is. But when you have that framework, when you have one, mostly, or less than 3 providers, you do not have competition. And if the FCC pulls away from regulating, again, I know I had to tiptoe on this one. If there is no cop on the beat, then how are you protected if you have only one option, or if you have 2 options, if you don't have competition? That's why I'm so much in favor of the direction in which we held previously.
And then how do people make their voices heard? I mean, the FCC is a small commission. There's only 5 of you. How do we have any impact on you?
Well, one way we have set up is an online way for you to reach out to us. We still answer the phones too. You can always call, like dialing a number. You can always do that. But we have an online means of getting in touch. My door is always open. So you can use any of those platforms to do so. I know we make a lot of major decisions at the FCC. The one you hear the most about is net neutrality, but we make decisions every day that impact you. You need to pay attention. You're not too young to pay attention to what we do, because again, as I said, the decisions we make today will affect you the rest of your lives. And if you're not watchful, then you might find yourself at the end of the day affected by a decision that might not be in your best interest. So call, write. We still answer mail too, snail mail. Reach out, talk to your lawmakers here. who have a pipeline, a direct pipeline, to us, particularly your federal, those U.S. congressmen and U.S. senators who have us on speed dial. Reach out to them and tell them how you feel. You're not too young to do that.
Absolutely not. Any other questions or comments for the commissioner?
Give me one question.
Oh, yes.
All right. She is not a student, by the way?
No, I happen to know she's a teacher.
My question is I know when you're making decisions, how difficult it must be to
Yes.
stick to what you're feeling. Where do you get, like when you're just being like everybody else is saying, no, vote this way, when you're kind of being bullied, or not bullied, but
Right.
Pressure.
like pressured into
Right.
doing things that you might not want to because of peer pressure, or
Right.
where do you get that strength? I mean, do you have any advice for people that?
So you're going to, every day you're faced with decisions that you have to make. From something that might be as benign, or you might think as simple as what to put on, every day, to, whether or not you're going to study for that test, how are you going to approach, neighbor. You face with decisions every day. But when I'm looking at major decisions like we have, we're faced with the FCC, I ask one question to myself over and over again. If I vote yes or no, will your experiences be better? Is this in the public's interest? Will your access to the services online, to telephone, to radio, will that platform be improved by the decision I make? Will it negatively impact you if you are from a richer community or a poorer community? Those are the things that you ask, because what we are charged with doing, our responsibility is to leave this place better than when we found it, and we do so through regulations. So if I do something that benefits a company but disadvantages you, I have not done my job correctly. And if I have completely advantaged you and disadvantaged a company that provides you with service, believe it or not, even though I am for you 100%, I have not done my job either, because it's a balancing act. So there is a way for all of us to do things that are good for business and good for communities. We can do that at the same time, and that's the balancing act that I take every day, and it comes from the lessons that I learned when I was your age from my mentors, who said to me that you have the ability, each and every one of us has the ability to leave this place better than we found it, and we should do so in whatever capacity and way that we can. We've got the ability to do that through example, and that's how I try to follow.
Great. How are we doing on time?
Got 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes? Well, you kind of addressed this, but I want to get specific about who owns the internet, because you see these big companies that offer internet services, and then you hear about the government, the
Right.
Defense Department. Give us a little bit of a sense of who owns the internet.
So I'll offer this in this way. There's a difference between ownership and providing access to the internet. So again, these companies, those internet service providers, are your gateway to the internet. When the internet was created and designed for other purposes.
For Defense Department. Yeah.
It was a defense. It was created for one, but then the applications and the abilities, just far outpaced. If you meet the internet service providers, they had no idea that 30 years later it would look the way it does. But the net neutrality principles I embrace say that the internet belongs to you. The access to the internet is where we need to maintain vigilance. Because if you've got, if you've got some one or two in your communities, one provider that provides access to the internet, there needs to be some checks and balances and protections for you. So I want us to get, again, access, who provides, ownership, I say, is in your hands. And you've got to ensure, and you've got to keep adults in check, the 5 of us in check, to make sure that the internet remains in your hands.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Is Hani in the house? There you are. So our next person who's going to come up, I'm not quite going to call her a speaker, but she's going to be the one who you're going to love the most because she's the one with the goodies who's doing the raffles. But I want to tell you a little bit about Hani Khan because I am very proud of her. She is somebody who we hired several years ago to work with us as our social media and community and press outreach person. But how I found her or discovered her, actually my wife sort of found her, is she's kind of famous. You may have heard a story a number of years ago about a Muslim woman who worked in the stockroom at a store called Abercrombie & Fitch. How many people know that store, Abercrombie & Fitch? She was wearing her hijab, her headscarf, minding her own business, doing her work. Not a problem. Her boss was okay with it. The customers were okay with it. Obviously, it could have been a cross. It could have been a yarmulke if she was Jewish. It could have been a turban if she was Sikh, but because she's Muslim, a woman, she wore a hijab. Somebody from the company, I think an executive, walked in and decided on his own that that wasn't appropriate. Now, a lot of people would have just said, oh, gee, I either quit my job or I take it off, but Hani fought back. And she fought back not just for herself, not just for other Muslim women, but for everybody who wants religious freedom. And she was able to win. And ultimately, the case got all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And it has now been determined, correct me if I'm wrong, that religious people, if they choose, can express their religion or not in the way they dress at work. And so for that, we all owe a great debt to Hani Khan, who is now going to give you a gift.
Thank you for the kind words, Larry. Well, thank you for joining us at Safer Internet Day. We're really excited to be in Austin, great town. We're having a good time here. So we're gonna get right into the raffle. We're gonna do the raffle a few times today, so this isn't the first and only chance to win a prize. You're gonna have multiple opportunities throughout the day. So what I'm gonna ask you to do is to take out your passport, which is this item. There should be a raffle ticket stapled onto there, and we're going to raffle off a few prizes right now, and then some before lunch and a few more times after lunch. So if you can take this out, make sure you read the numbers very carefully. I have the other end, so I have a bunch of the tickets as well, and we're gonna get this raffle started. So is everyone ready? Yes. I need you guys to be louder. Let's get excited. Ready? All right. Okay. So the first prize that we're going to raffle off are Bluetooth-enabled earbuds. So if you guys have smartphones, laptops, you can connect this wirelessly through the Bluetooth. So ready? Okay. I'm going to need you guys to listen carefully. I'm going to read the numbers off twice. And if no one claims it, then we're going to move on and someone else has an opportunity to win, okay? So the first one is 6542262. You got it? Come on up. I'm gonna check your ticket. Do you have your ticket? It's good? All right. You win these Bluetooth earbuds. Thank you. All right. Item number 2 are these wireless speakers. Put that right there. Okay. Ready? Okay. 6542257. Anyone win? Yeah! I'm just gonna check your number. Perfect. Congratulations. All right, the last prize for right now is a very, very exciting one. It's actually one of our sponsors. It's the Google Home Mini. So. Okay. Ready? 6542253. I'm going to read that. Do you have it? Yeah? Congratulations. Don't worry, we're going to be doing the raffle 3 more times. There's going to be plenty of opportunities to win, so. Yeah.
On? Test, yeah, good. Panelists, do we have our, Martin, we have our panel? So we're waiting for our panelists to come up. By the way, thank you so much, Hani, and congratulations to the winners. And don't lose those tickets, because there are some fabulous prizes coming up. More fabulous prizes. Go ahead.
You want us to sit in any particular order?
Anywhere you want. Thank you. We're going to have everybody give each like 3 minutes. What you do, safety issue. Okay, so we're missing one of our students. On up. All right. So we have most of what we do at Safer Internet Day, we change year to year, but this is the one panel that we try to replicate every year, always with different people, or often with different people, but always the same kinds of people. People who are major executives at some of the most important internet companies that you undoubtedly know about and probably work with, use, as well as students from your own community who are involved in these companies, not so much in terms of running them, but in terms of using their products. And it's great for the industry people because they get the kind of feedback that they can take back to their companies and figure out if they're doing things right or if they need to make changes. So it's great advice, and of course, it's terrific, I hope, for students to be able to get access to some of these folks that are making some of the more important decisions, especially around trust and safety. So I'm going to introduce our panelists in no particular order. Again, I have to look at my phone for a minute. I'll start with Bethany Bissell, and please pardon me if I mispronounce any names. Did I get that right? Yeah. And Bethany Bissell is a junior at Aikens High School in Austin. Any others? Okay. Great. She's studying writing, film, and journalism. You know, in my other job, I'm also a journalist. I write a syndicated column, and I'm on CBS Radio, so maybe you and I can collaborate later on. She's a student ambassador to Atkins and editor of the school newspaper, the Eagle Eye. What a great newspaper name. We need Eagle Eyes for journalists. And in the future, she plans to study journalism. The other student is, and again, I hope I have this right, Christina. Interesting spelling. Christina Hall is a senior at Aikens High School again. Feel free to shout out. In Austin. Her interests include cheerleading, traveling, fashion, banking, camping, scrapbooking, and filmmaking. You have a very eclectic set of interests. She recently won All-American in cheerleading. And you got some cheerleaders out here for you. And received the Youth Volunteer Award for her contribution to the community. After graduation, she plans to attend college to study fashion in New York City. Great. So our adult contributors, Vandana, help me out on your last name. You might.
Vandana Parvani.
Okay, Vandana Parvani heads the user advocacy group at Google. Anybody here heard of Google? And by the way, every one of you goes home with a free Google account. Just kidding, they're all free for everybody. Her team conducts, and Facebook too. Her team conducts user research on topics of online safety and works across the world to educate users, educators, and influencers on the importance of digital citizenship. She has over 15 years experience in strategy, operations, and consulting, primarily in retail and tech sectors. She holds a Bachelor of Engineering from the University of Mumbai, a Master's in Engineering from Cornell University, and a Master's in Business Administration from the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley. By the way, I should tell you that all of these companies are Connect Safely partners, and we are very proud to work with all of them. Also, we have with us Michael Callahan, who's founder and CEO of After School, an app used by millions of high school students around the country. He's an inventor and tech entrepreneur. He's passionate about making a measurable positive impact on the world by enabling communication through technology. Michael is also co-founder and CEO of After School, the largest teen-focused social network in the US, with networks in over 85% of all high schools. After School allows high school students to connect and share with their classmates in a private and moderated network. And I'm going to ask Michael to address sort of what got him into this. He has a very unique story that I think might be inspirational for some of us. And finally, but by no means last, is my good friend Karuna Nain, who is a global safety public policy programs manager at Facebook, which is based in Menlo Park, California, not far from where I live. She's worked on redesigning the Facebook Safety Center, Bullying Prevention Hub, and launching a parents portal, as well as supporting Facebook suicide prevention efforts. Prior to this, I ran out of paper. You worked in the State Department, right? In India? Yes. I got that right? Yes. Okay, so even though I didn't have it written down, I remembered it. So what I'd like to do is start out with the industry folks, not because they're the most important people, but because they have an interesting story to tell about what they do. I don't think we need Karuna or Vandana to explain what Facebook and Google are, but we can learn a little bit about how you approach trust and safety. So let's start with Karuna.
Thank you so much, Larry, and hi, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Good? Okay, so how many of you are on Facebook? Have a Facebook account? Just to see what your friends and family are doing. Okay, how many of you are on Instagram? Okay, has anyone heard of WhatsApp or tried WhatsApp? Okay, and my current favorite, anyone's tried out Oculus? You've not tried out Oculus? Okay, we have a couple of people. So that's basically the Facebook family of companies. I focus on our Blue app or Facebook, making sure that we're doing a good job of keeping the platform safe so that you all can use it without worrying about who has access to your data, who are you connecting with, who are you sharing with. I've been at Facebook almost 5 years now, and that doesn't sound like a lot in many companies, but at Facebook, 5 years it's a pretty long time. And I've learned a lot at Facebook. But I started out with Facebook in India, actually. I started out working on seeing how we could be doing a better job of not just making our platform safe, but talking to people about how they can stay safe online. And then I moved to our headquarters a couple of years back to see how we could be doing this at scale. So just to take a step back, we've got over 2 billion people who connect and share actively every month on Facebook. Just think about the sheer number that I'm talking about here, 2 billion people. That's a lot of people from a lot of different countries, a lot of different cultures, and what may be acceptable to me may not be acceptable to someone else. So how do we make this a safe and secure place, given the diversity of the people who are on our platform? We try and take a 5-point approach to safety. First, we have very clearly defined policies that explain what you can and cannot share on Facebook. So for instance, you cannot bully or harass someone. I'm not going to go into all of our policies, but if you're interested, go into facebook.com/community standards and you'll get the basic thought behind our policies. The second piece of it is making sure that you have tools to control your experience on Facebook. So you may come to Facebook because you're using it as a broadcast tool. There are lots of young people doing incredible things using our platform, getting their voice heard. Or you may come to Facebook just because you want to connect and share with very close friends and family. We want to give you the tools that really help you define that experience. Every time you make a post on Facebook, you can let us know, I only want this to be seen by like a small, sliver of my friend list, or do I want it to be seen by the whole wide world? The third piece of it is our help and support, making sure that if you're stuck or if you need resources, you have places you can go to. So you can go to our help center, you can go to our safety center. Larry mentioned some of the projects that I've been working on, our parents portal, our bullying prevention hub. The fourth piece of it is, and actually I'm going to club the fourth and the fifth, it's partnerships and feedback. That's really fundamental for us to get this story right. Because only when we're working with people like Larry, people like PTA, can we make sure that we're doing a good job in learning what people could be worried about and making sure that we're closing those gaps. So partnerships and feedback actually inform the work across 1, 2, and 3 for us. So I'm going to stop there, but that's in a nutshell how we think about keeping people safe on Facebook and making sure that we are building the tools, the technologies to do our jobs well.
Okay. I think I'm going to go to Vandana, and then we'll go to Michael. Yeah.
Thanks, Larry. I think very similar to what Karuna described for Facebook, we have a large trust and safety team around the world making sure that our platforms and our products are safe for all users. We have a very special focus, obviously, on teens, as we're talking to this audience here today. So we're constantly thinking about how we can equip you to keep yourself safe, but also how the people in your lives who love you and who take care of you, your parents, your teachers, can also have tools that they can access to help you stay safe online. So one of the areas, for example, that we recently rolled out for parents was Family Link. You can use it for your younger siblings if you're responsible for babysitting them. It's a great way of getting a device set up with an account and then having a parent device or an alternate device that sort of monitors this device, right? So you can set controls on what apps you can download, how long you can watch, how much time you spend online every day. And it really sort of brings control back. I think all of us realize that very often we're sitting online, even as grown-ups, and we lose track of time. So having sort of these tools in place that help us track our own activity is super helpful. What I would say to this group is you definitely have, make sure when you're using products that these are companies that are looking out for your safety, but at the end of the day, you own that as well. So there are some really great resources. As I was walking the hallway outside, there are some amazing resources out there to help you educate yourself on staying safe online, but also carry that message back, right? Carry that message back to your friends, to your classmates, because it all starts with you. You have the power to be kind online. You have the power to be aware online. And at the end of the day, you have the power to be safe online. So I'd say there are amazing resources out there. It's amazing that you've committed time today to being here. And we're hoping to equip you with a lot of good information along the way.
Thank you. So it's not often that we get to hear from the CEO of a tech company that serves millions of high school students. But I asked Michael to come here because he has kind of a unique history. And I think it's something that we all can learn from. So take it away.
Absolutely. So first, start with a question. Who here is different? Raise your hand if you're different. So when asked if you're different, the majority of people say yes. And it's because everybody's different. Everybody's different in some type of way. And it's usually those differences that cause a lot of problems between people. They're also a source of great beauty. When I was a kid, I was very different. And I said to myself, different is beautiful. I think being different is absolutely beautiful. When I was in high school, I looked different from the rest of the people. This might be a little dated, but you guys know about people that like punk music. Do you know what punk people look like? Yeah. So that's what I looked like when I was in high school, and I went to a Catholic school that was very strict. So the kids, I'll tell you one of the things I did. I met this one girl, and she had glitter that she put around her eyes. And I saw that, and I was like, that's awesome. I think that's really super cool. Where did you get it from? And Hot Topic still exists today. You guys know the store in the mall. It was a new thing at the time. And so I went there, and she showed me. She was like, here's where I got it. And then when I went to school on Monday, I was so proud. I had this like glitter around my eyes. And I thought it was amazing. I thought it was super cool. And people looked at me and they saw me as different. And culturally, people who don't have good ways to communicate or understand, they like to try to hurt or destroy things that are different. And when you think about the fact that everyone here raised their hand when asked that they're different, it's obvious that we're all different. So when I was in high school, I had bullying that maybe was a bit more physical than it is today. I tell people that I kept track of the number of people who walked up to me and spit in my face. And that's terrible, but you actually get used to it. It's disgusting, but it's something that you get used to when people pick on you for being different. And I saw that, and when I was in high school, there was just so many opportunities where I wished that I could communicate with the other people that were around me. So in addition to being different, when I was going through high school and as I was growing up, I had dealt with domestic abuse. So some of you guys may have that kind of stuff going on at home. I know it, I understand it, it's horrible, it's not fun. I had an instance with my dad when I was growing up where I said, this was enough, like this shouldn't go on any further, and I called the police on my own dad, and that's a pretty extreme situation. And the police came and they took my dad away, and then I was in the court system. I was in the court system going through, this thing where your dad is, the bad guy, and this is such a hard thing for a kid to deal with, and I didn't tell a single person about it. I didn't tell a single person, any of my closest friends, no one. I didn't tell anyone that was going on for me. And, again, I wish that if I had a way that I could communicate, where people wouldn't judge me or look at me in a certain way, I would clearly do it because I definitely needed help and support from other people that were around me. So, when I got to the age, that I am now, we have the opportunity to make changes. We have the opportunity, we know how to build things, we know how to create things that, we can solve some of the problems that we had growing up. And so that's part of the reason why we made After School. Basically a way that people can communicate with the people that are in their same school, but without fear of being judged. We've rolled the product out, across the United States, and we've had tons of really positive interactions, and safety is something that we deal with on a daily basis, and we keep improving it. At my school, I'll share one last personal story. At my school, one day sitting at lunch, one of my best friends came and sat down, and he said, the principal just asked me, called me into the locker room, asked me to take my shirt off and put on a woman's bra, and he took pictures of me. And we looked at him, we're like, what? What, oh my God, what just, But this was the principal of the school. So you're not gonna go up against the principal. You're not gonna tell people that this has happened. So no one said a damn thing about it. And right now, so that was, I guess, maybe 17 years ago. Right now, that guy is, he's under investigation for doing stuff like that. And, had we had the tools that we had today, I'm sure that story would have gotten out. And it's things like that, you guys have the power to change. Feel empowered by technology and feel it as something that you can, if something bad like that is going on, make sure that information gets out so that people can fix things.
That's great. Well, that's a good segue to Bethany, who is the journalist, because speaking truth to power is what you're talking about and what journalists do. But I'm not going to tell you what to talk about other than share some of your own experiences and your concerns, and feel free to drill or ask questions or complain or anything you want to the adults that are sitting at the panel. You don't have to complain, but do it respectfully, if you will. Thank you. Whatever. I mean, let's talk. Well, why don't we start out by talking about what do you do in terms of connected technology? What do you use, and how do you use it, and how do you make sure your safety and privacy are protected?
Okay. Yeah. Is this on? Yeah, it is. Okay. I have a Twitter that I use mostly to look at the news and like political commentary and like a lot of like citizen journalists and stuff like that, which I think is like something that like is a big part of like the idea of digital citizenship. And I have an Instagram, and I don't have Facebook. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's mostly it. It's all on private because.
Well, so talk about that. You say you look at a lot of news on Twitter.
Yeah.
Do you ever encounter stories, A, that you might disagree with, or B, that you might think are fake, or that you might have a strong reaction to one way or the other?
Yeah, I think like a lot of that, like, you know, like people have like, based on what you like look at, like obviously things are going to start catering to you. So I think because of that and the things that I follow, I don't get a ton of fake stuff. And I think a lot of that is maybe because like during the time where there was like a abundance of like fake news stuff coming out. Fake news existed long before it was like a big thing, but like I wasn't really on Facebook. I wasn't really reading anything other than like the Washington Post at the time. So like I don't super often see things that I think are fake, but like I think certainly the opinions that I have access to are very
Well, let me ask you. So if somebody posted something that you strongly disagreed with and you felt you needed to speak up, how would you approach that? Would you say something about the person, about the issue? How would you approach dealing with something that you had a strong reaction to, negative reaction?
Probably by addressing the issue and not so much the person, because that's usually not conducive to productive discourse. But
I agree. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions before we get to Christina? Okay. So Christina, talk to me about what you do using, and by the way, connected technology can be anything from social media to the doorbell that's connected to Wi-Fi if you have one. But talk to me about how you use connected technology in your life.
I only have Twitter and I have Instagram. They're both private. I usually just follow people from school, my family.
Why did you decide to have private accounts? Because you obviously have a choice. You could have been more public.
There actually is a reason I keep my things private. One, Instagram. I did go through bullying my 9th grade year, and to stop them from like commenting on anything I post, I just went on private for Instagram. And then Twitter, I just like, there's like creepy people like out there, so I don't want them like seeing what I post or like, you know, just things like that.
You want to talk a little bit about how you were able to handle the bullying situation? Maybe there's something we can learn from that?
A lot of things, people will say things behind a screen, in person, quiet. So it's like, if they're not on my social media, I won't hear from them. I won't like really experience bullying because they're scared. They won't like say it in front of my face. So I guess.
Anything you want to say or ask of, again, we don't have Twitter here, although Twitter is supporting our program. They're giving us tweets and things like that, sponsored tweets, but we do have Instagram as well as Google and After School. Anything you want to say or ask of the folks here? Okay. So, go ahead. Yeah,
something that I'd add that I think is a useful tool. When I was growing up, I said to myself, if someone means something, they'll say it to my face. So if they think it or they kind of think it, you know, they may type it behind a screen, they may say it to a friend who then tells me, but if they really meant it, they'd say it to my face. And that really helped me, you know, that really helped me kind of ward off things that I was hearing from other people that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I could just tell that they didn't necessarily agree with them as much either.
So as long as we're on the subject of bullying, there's no question with the billions of people that Facebook and Google interact with, YouTube, example, in the Google case, and obviously Facebook and Instagram, obviously there are going to be some people who don't behave properly. So starting, Karuna, with Facebook/Instagram, how do you handle that when you hear reports of misbehavior like that?
So I think, I talked about our 5-point approach to safety, so I'm going to go back to that. So first, we have policies in place that actually do not allow bullying. So if you report such content to us, and if we find that, yes, it is an instance of bullying, we will take down that we will take down that piece of content. And of course, there's an escalation level. If this person's a repeat offender, they'll have some, penalties as well. So that's, starting with our policies. Then it comes to tools. So in your instance, for your example, for instance, you talked about the fact that you made your account private, or you could block people, you could remove them from your friends list. So we want to be able to give you the tools, because sometimes what happens is when you're reporting pieces of content to us, the piece of content in itself doesn't give us the whole history of what's going on with that relationship, or what the background is. So we miss the context of bullying. That's because there's a whole lot of things that have escalated behind the scenes. So we want to give you the policies as well as the tools, because sometimes reporting it just doesn't get you the resolution that you need. So you'll have tools like removing people from your friend list, blocking them, in the case of Instagram, making your account private, things like that. And then, of course, resources. You should be able to go to our Facebook Safety Center, and you'll see a whole bunch of resources we've developed with the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. We call it our Bullying Prevention Hub. If you haven't seen it yet, it's facebook.com/safety/bullying. And you'll find a bunch of resources, not just for yourselves. So if you think your friend is being bullied, how do you help them? If you yourself are being bullied, how can you reach out for help? But also for your teachers and for your parents, because it's hard all around having these conversations. And then, of course, making sure that we are working with people who are experts in this space to see how can we be doing more. So I'm going to give you an example. A few years back, we launched something on Facebook which we call social resolution tools. Now, when someone posts a photograph of you on Facebook, you don't like the way you look in it, it doesn't really violate Facebook's community standards, but you still don't want it on Facebook. So we now give you the ability to take that photograph, reach out to the friend. We'll give you some language to be able to help have that conversation, to tell your friend, I don't like the way I look in it, can you take it down? But sometimes friends don't listen. So maybe you want to capture that photograph, reach out to a trusted adult, a teacher, a parent, and reach out to them and say, I've asked them, they're not, taking it down. Can you help me? Can you mediate? So building even technology that can help young people through these conflict situations and bring about resolutions. That's how we look at it, 360 degrees, the policies, the tools, the resources, and the partnerships.
So Vandana, on YouTube alone, which is one of your many services, millions of people post videos every day, and with that many people, you're going to have some folks that are going to post things that are going to offend others. And talk a little bit about how you handle that, not just on YouTube, but in your other properties as well.
Yeah, absolutely. For starters, before I get into that, I just wanted to applaud Bethany and Christina, because everything that they said about how they're managing their accounts is point on. And I wish more grown-ups were doing what y'all are doing. So big round of applause to them. Everything that you talked about in terms of awareness of your settings and how you're sharing content, what you're following, which in turn ensures that you're seeing high quality content, is spot on. So I think some great tips right here from your peers in the panel. In terms of our moderation procedures, one thing that we've realized is at a point in time when something insensitive is happening, timing is key. And especially, I think, in the world we live in today, you're talking about scale and speed on these platforms, right? So anything that is said gets viewed by millions very, very quickly. So that's the scale aspect. And the speed is the fact that things go viral, right? With shares, retweets, posts, whatever it is, things get viral very, very fast. So one thing we've realized is when someone in the community spots something that they don't like, and they either downvote it or they flag it for review, we have to be very, very responsive. So that's one of the things that we've consciously moved towards, is making sure that what you tell us, it doesn't look right, we are getting to a moderator. Very often we have amazing machine learning in place, so I know all of you are probably learning a lot about machine learning and artificial intelligence in school right now. We have some really great ML in place that is auto-moderating, but we also have just human beings there who are looking at these kinds of complaints and reports, and we try to turn that around in hours. Literally, we have stuff that we turn around in less than 30 minutes, depending on the severity of it. So that's one thing we've learned, right? We've learned that we have to have tools for very swift resolution and very swift action. The other thing that we're looking at is how can we develop a community of people that know what violates policy, that understand the context of it very often better than any one individual can, a group that understands the context on a particular issue, and developing a trusted flagger program. So we're working with trusted flaggers around the world on a host of different topics because we realize that one single person or one single team sitting in one part of the world is not an expert on every local context, every culturally sensitive topic in the world. So those are just a few things. There's a host of other things going on, but I think the bottom line is we start with recognizing the importance. And I love the fact that today we're talking about cyberbullying, we're talking about these tough topics, because I'm sure, Larry, when you hosted events like this 5 years ago, there was a lot less focus on this. So I think that the step we've all taken together, society, the tech industry, the press, of recognizing the issues has been an amazing start to this process.
Thank you. So, Michael, Karuna's boss, Mark Zuckerberg, who, like you, is a founder and CEO, recently put out a post talking about mistakes he's made over the last 14 years. Well, you're the only person here who actually founded a company, and I'm sure we all make mistakes, so unless you're different, really different, not just like the way you were different, but really different, you probably made some. So talk about some of not only your mistakes, but just the things that you've learned and how you've adapted after school so it's a platform that people can feel proud of and safe on.
Yeah, so I think the best way to address the question is freedom of speech. So, you know, I told you a little bit about my background and, you know, some of the things I was into and so on. And so when we created After School, you know, we were huge proponents of freedom of speech. And political people can correct me, but to my knowledge, basically the right of freedom of speech does not extend to minors. And that's really pretty messed up. When I read about that, I was like, that doesn't sound
I
correct.
am going to correct you.
Yeah, go for it.
Because the First Amendment of the Constitution does not say, oh, by the way, you have to be over 18 for this to apply to you.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
in fact, it does apply to minors, and if it doesn't,
Yeah.
that means somebody's doing it wrong. So, sorry about that.
Absolutely agree. I
Yeah.
read a bunch of articles that were about basically the interventions that can take place to minors that couldn't take place to.
But one last thing, I'll let you go.
Yeah.
But the First Amendment does only apply to government. It doesn't necessarily. So, for example, Facebook's decision not to show nude pictures, the government couldn't say that adults don't have the right to look at nude pictures. Adults do have that right. Whether it's appropriate or not is another question. But as a private company,
policies,
you guys can make any policy decisions you want.
Yep.
I just wanted to clarify the legal standpoint,
Yep.
even though, disclosure, I am not a lawyer and I don't play one.
Absolutely. So we're a, you know, major proponent of you know, freedom of speech, and so we put out the early version of our product, and it just took off. And imagine basically yourself laying in bed, you're sleeping, and someone comes into your room, shakes you, and says the police are on the phone, and then you're like, what? And you're like, you sit there and you talk to them. You handle the situation, you put the phone down, and then you go, you know, the day passes, you go to sleep again, you're sleeping in your bed the next morning, and then someone comes into the room and shakes you and says, the FBI's on the phone. And so I just had day after day after day of being woken up with just these adrenaline shots of, oh my God, what is going on? I talked to a police officer, and that was in Texas actually, that was telling me that they were like chasing kids through the streets with guns yesterday, and he was saying it was our fault. And we made an app, and you type messages on it. You know, what does that have to do with guns, police officers chasing them down the street? And what we basically, you know, realized very quickly was that, you know, as a platform, you know, we're responsible for everything. We have to be responsible for everything. And the stance that we would say, oh, well, that's not, we didn't write it. That's not this, you know, our role in this was minor. That, no one will accept that. And you can preemptively just jump to the point where you realize that you should be an adult and you should take responsibility for these things. So even though, you know, a person writes a message, if it's a bomb threat or a gun threat or something, we have to, one, handle it correctly, and two, take responsibility for the situation. Now we've, in situations that are like that, and in the beginning I was handling all of these severe cases. I'd be on the phone with police officers and so on. And I was always advocating for kids. So some of you guys, especially because a lot of you guys are younger, you know, will know about this. The kid, you know, that calls in, a bomb threat when, there's a test, and he doesn't want to take the test, so he does a bomb threat. No, bad idea. You don't want the FBI showing at your door because you didn't want to take a test.
And by the way, that is not freedom of speech.
Exactly.
It's not protected. Yes.
Right. That's correct. And so basically, I was handling these situations and talking to the appropriate officials, the schools, also law enforcement and so on, to get the cases handled. And all of our situations, I think, came across and were handled very well. But there was a particular thing that I would do that I think other people wouldn't, was I was advocating for the kids. That basically, these people have legal responsibilities to take all threats seriously, and we do as well. And I would explain to these people that if a kid takes his phone out and writes something like that, that's a cry for help. That's indicative of something. If someone's not going to go to that level of extremeness, knowing that there's consequences unless there's a lot of motivation behind that. And I was so pleased when I would talk to superintendents, I would talk to police officers and so on, and they tell me, we got into this business to protect people too. And that was just so heartwarming. So, even though, you guys can kind of see adults as old people that tell you a bunch of rules, just do believe that there's a lot of people out there that are looking out for your safety and your best interest.
Thank you. So Christina and Bethany, do you guys have any last words to suggest or bring up? Any questions, comments? Anybody in the audience want to ask? We just have a couple of minutes, but quick questions for anybody in our panel or quick comments? Okay. Well, oh yeah, please. Go ahead. Get that cool looking microphone. There it is. Toss it to him. I love that mic. All right.
So I would like to know what are the resources on Facebook for the bullying, especially, please.
Final plug. So if you go to facebook.com/safety, you're going to see a whole bunch of resources. One of them is called our Bullying Prevention Hub. When you visit the Bullying Prevention Hub, you'll see 3 subsections. One is for teens, one is for educators, and one is for parents. And when you go to the first one, you'll see a bunch of guides, but you'll also see some things like conversation starters, other resources that could help you out, especially if you think that your friend is being bullied, you don't know how to have a conversation with them. This is a good place to get started.
And by the way, ConnectSafely.org has a ton of resources, including parents' guides, and I would suggest you guys, in fact, you can pick some up out here, but pass them on to your parents, and I promise you, they all encourage the use of technology just in a way that I think you'll agree protects people. Any other questions before we bring Hani up? Oh, she asked if it's the same for Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram has a safety center as well, but the Bullying Prevention Hub is a common resource.
Okay. Last questions? Okay, well, our next person, do I see a hand up? Yeah, go ahead. Can you get him the magic box? It's traveling airmail. Hey, very nice.
When it comes to not just like social medias and just websites, but like such in the case of YouTube and video sites, when it comes to protecting people, young and old, from what they see, what different steps can just the people do to help make the sites better and like safer for everyone?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and recognizing that this comes from the community, right? So the community helping each other out. I think the best way you can be aware of what's happening is on all of these platforms, be it YouTube, be it any of the other video sharing sites, be careful about who you follow, right? That's already going to tell you a lot about what kind of content is going to come your way. Also recognizing that depending on who you follow, you'll get more content, not just from that person, but similar content from other creators as well, right? So make sure that who you follow, sort of their values align with what you're looking for online. The other thing I'd suggest is making sure that when you see something and you realize something is off, flag it as quickly as you can. And in YouTube, we just made a host of changes to our flagging process, where now we even allow you to tell us what kind of content it is at a very specific level, right? Violent content, content that may have terrorism associated with it. So we want to make sure that particularly troublesome categories, we're able to find those really, really fast. And that's where you participate in being a part of that community as well. And then finally,